Do you want to go to Japan for some drifting? Join the massive drift train at Drift Mastery, visit Ibisu Circuit, meet up like-minded people at the same time when you have fun together. So in today's How to Drift in Japan video, I'm gonna explain 4 things you need to know before you go to Japan. Welcome to our How to Drift in Japan videos, and I'm Sky Zhao. I'm founder of Drift Academy International, and we operate in New Zealand, Japan, and also China. So in the last sort of 6 years, I start going to Japan and actually start drifting at Ibisu Circuit just for myself, having a bit of fun with my friends. And what I found was I really like and enjoy what Ibisu Circuit or Japanese circuit offers. And basically, you don't need an expensive car or high horsepower car, and you'll be able to enjoy all the fun from drifting. So back in the days, I actually competed in D1 New Zealand, and so we are running LS7, sort of like huge power, huge torque cars, and burning rubbers pretty much. So when I start drifting in Japan, I found my passion back, really, that you can drive a car to the limits, whether it's 300 horsepower car or like 350, that's plenty for Japan. So since then, I started operating Drift Academy in Japan, and over the years, we have brought a lot of people to Japan and Ibisu Circuit. And also we have the official support from Team Orange and the Ibisu Circuit. So big thanks to Kumakubo-san and Naoto-san from Team Orange, and they are totally behind Drift Academy Japan. And also thanks for Power Rico, Andy and Emily, for us to run there and just help and support where we need it. So over the past few years, because we are in Japan a lot, we do get a lot of questions. A lot of people come to me say, hey Sky, like I really want to go to Japan, you know, like what should I look into it before I actually go to Japan? You know, like how can I get a car and start drifting in Japan? What sort of the cost is going to be? So definitely a lot of people has been to Japan after that, and I've seen, you know, how they enjoy Japan. Ibisu has offered them, and they absolutely have the trip of lifetime, really enjoyed it. And I believe everybody has been to Ibisu will agree to me at the same point. So in today's video, I just want to cover 4 points before you go to Japan and actually drifting yourself. So when you go, it's going to be a lot easier. You have already done homework and it's ready to go. All right, the first thing you need to know is track, because if you go into Japan and you want to drift somewhere, you need to find a track. And in Japan, there are many tracks, and there's quite a few drift tracks, you know, from north of Japan right down to south of Japan, and it's very, very far. So you want to find the right tracks, and you can plan your trip, and you'll be able to get to your track and start drifting, right? And also, I just want to also touch up, you know, when you think about a track, you got to think about car storages and what's the layout of the track, you know, what sort of drifting you want to do as well. So there's a few selections. So number 1, Ibisu Circuit. So Ibisu Circuit obviously is probably the most famous drift track in the world. It has multiple tracks and pretty much caters all levels, and is located north of Japan. So coming down a little bit south, which is still north of Tokyo, you got Nikko Circuit. So Nikko Circuit is quite a nice circuit, and you'll be able to drift there with a lot of friends at the same time when there is open days. Okay, so also there's other famous track like Meihan Circuit, which is way down south and it's quite far to go to. So if you are planning to go to your trips, you'll not be able to go to Ibisu and Meihan at the same time in the most cases, unless you are willing to travel more than 10 hours in a car and just traveling from different tracks. So I choose Ibisu Circuit. Okay, I'll explain why. Ibisu Circuit is a big complex, so it has multiple tracks. So it's not actually just drifting tracks. It has also racing tracks. So the racing track, like the East Higashi and the West Nishi track, they do open during the Drift Mastery, so you can drift on those too. Because the complex consists of different drift circuits, you can drift from skip pan right down to Minami, which is the jump track for D1 GP. So there's a lot of flexibility that, that suits all skill sets. Whether you are a beginner, you just want to experience drifting in Japan, or you already a experienced driver driving competition in your home country. So the same track with different layouts can give you the flexibility of learning drifting. I'll explain why Ibisu circuit could be the best drift circuit in Japan or in the world. So Ibisu circuit consists of multiple circuits together. So it's from skip pen right down to the jump drift Minami circuit, and as well as racing circuit east and west, which is called Higashi and Nishi. So those circuits will open for drift masteries if you go in that period. So that sort of caters different skill levels. So if you are a absolute beginner, you'll be able to enjoy the fun in a skip pen and sort of relatively easy circuit. Or if you are an experienced driver in your own country or in a competition, now you'll be able to come here to learn more, whether it's battling or whether it's jump drift, whatever, you can practice there. Still, you're gonna enjoy a lot of it. So the track at Ibisu circuit will provide you that flexibility no matter what skill set it is. So in that one, I would say there's huge advantage drift at Ibisu rather than any other single tracks in Japan. Number 2, you can buy a car and store a car at the track of Ibisu. So now to come back to the track topic is very important, because you and me and everybody will come to Japan. We are all foreigners. We don't have a base in Japan. It's important that you have somewhere you can store your cars, especially at the track. Because when at the track, what you don't need, what you save is on your transport. So transporting a race car from wherever the workshop, your storage, to the track can be very expensive. And that's the money that you can save. So with the support Puerto Rico that operating in Ibisu circuit, they offer that car storage. So that's why I think Ibisu circuit is the best track in Japan, or best for your drift trip. Okay, number 2, the second thing you need to know is drift car, because you're not going to a Japanese drift track without a drift car, right? So based on my experience in my few years drifting in Japan, it's very hard for you to find somebody who will rental their drift car to a stranger. So even if they do, it could be very expensive, or it could be not the cars that you want to drive. However, at Ibisu circuit, this is probably not a problem, because Emily and Andy, I mentioned before, they run Puerto Ricos in Ibisu circuit. So they operate like a car yard, a car sales, and they have literally probably hundreds of drift cars in stock, ready to choose from, and you buy the car and you be able to drift. So with their cars, the best thing is they are drift ready, number 1. Number 2, when you buy a car from Puerto Rico, you get the support. So when you get the support, that means you can store the car through them at the Ibisu circuit, which is very crucial that if you want to drift in Japan, and also that come back to Japan for drifting. So you buy this car and you can share your cost, or you can calculate it into a long-term calculation, so it doesn't cost as much. But we'll go through that details later in the other videos. So number 1, you buy a car from Puerto Rico and they are ready to go. Number 2, you can store at the track and get the support. So if it breaks down, and they'll be able to help you with it, and they can have spare parts on site and sell you the spare parts. So which is very important to all drift cars. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of breakdowns on drift cars. So buying the drift car from Puerto Ricos, I think a good thing to do when you want to go to Ibisu circuit. And also, like with the drift cars, you don't actually need a huge power drift cars that when you're drifting in Japan, because a lot of these tracks are super simple, or not super, I wouldn't say super simple, but actually the speed is not super high. It's about the drifting techniques. It's not about using the most horsepower and drifting a huge corner. So a lot of these tracks are designed so you can drift a factory age power car and you can enjoy a lot of fun with it. So a car is very important, and at the end of your trip, if you do buy your car from Puerto Rico, you can sell your car back to them. So if you haven't really damaged to your car, I think they pretty much will take it back roughly about 50% of the value of what you bought your car with. So that, for instance, if you buy a car for $6,000 US and you drift for 5 days and you sell the car back to Puerto Rico and they pay you 50%, 3K, and you only spend 3K for your 5 days or 1 week of your drifting. And if you work that out, that only costs you a few $100s per day So that works out probably better for a rental. And I've seen rentals very expensive. It's probably going up to that, $2,000 to $3,000 per day. And in this way, you choose the car you want, and also you sell your car back and you make your money back, and works the same way as a rental car. However, for the people that you don't want to sell your car because you fall in love with your car, you love the Japanese drift tracks, and you want to go back next year or go to multiple trips in 1 year, start car with the Power Eco. Literally, they probably only cost, I can't even remember, probably $50 a month, and that's super cheap. You save on all the towing, all the other storage potentially, if you store outside, and you be able to store at the track. So with the drift car, don't get a rental, get it from Power Vehicle, and you save your money. Okay, the third thing you need to know before you go to Japan is transport. Okay, so any track in Japan is probably just same as your own country. It won't locate the most central place in a bigger city, right? So it's always in the mountains or outskirts of city, and it's just same as Ibisu, Nikko Circuit, or Meihan. So that means it's gonna hard to go by public transport. So transport to the track is important. So I'm gonna explain how you can go to Ibisu Circuit and what's the best way to go to Ibisu Circuit. So first of all, obviously you can go with the public transport, try to go to Ibisu, and that consists of a bullet train ride, and a normal train ride, and a taxi ride. So all those three things, and you get to Ibisu Circuit. However, it could cost a lot of money too. Okay, on the other hand, is get a rental car. So get a rental car does sound quite difficult because you got to go through the auto booking system. You got to understand, communicate with the people, and actually drive in a different country. So it depends where you're coming from. The driving orientation could be different. So in Japan, they are right-hand drive, so they're driving on the left hand of the road. So it's very different. They are the opposite of US. So that part could be very different. So it could scare you off. But however, if you do get a rental car, that means you can basically drive from A to B. So if you are landing in Tokyo, you can drive from either airport or central Tokyo to the track directly and give you that flexibility. For my first time in Japan, my Ibisu, that consists of all the three public transport: a bullet train, a normal train, and a taxi ride. So the taxi ride is basically very expensive in Japan. So I was already in the home city or hometown, because it's so small, for Ibisu Circuit. It's called a Nihonmatsu. So after my bullet train to Fukushima, or you can go to Koriyama station, and you jump off there and swap for a super small train, and you arrive in Nihonmatsu. So once you arrive this town, you're not too far from the Ibisu Circuit, but that's in the mountain. You still have about 15 to 20 minutes drive from this town center. And a taxi ride from the town center go to Ibisu Circuit is going to cost actually a lot of money. Could cost something where, from memory, it probably costs around $80 US, and that's a lot of money. And plus, the bullet train is not cheap, so the whole thing could be a little bit headache. And every trip you do, it's going to be difficult. And that means you cannot go anywhere else apart from the hotel and to the Ibisu Circuit. So in between the two, I prefer go buy a rental car. So in my next videos, I'm going to explain how to rent a car in Japan and how to drive from Tokyo to Ibisu Circuit. All right, before I jump into the number 4 things you guys need to know, comment below if you have already been to Ibisu Circuit and you have already drifted there, what car you had over there, what car did you drifted, and how was your trip experience. So just comment below. All right, the 4th thing you need to know before you go is accommodation. So as I said, Ibisu is located in this super small town, about 3.5 hours north of Tokyo. Getting accommodation can be really hard, and also the language barrier could be difficult too. So based on my experience, probably everybody, all the drifters going to Ibisu Circuit, there's a couple of good options. So one is the urban hotel. So if you want a private room or a twin room, that could be a nice sort of facility. It's called Urban Hotel, located in the town center of Nihonmatsu, and they offers quite a lot of rooms. So if you go with your mates, they should be able to host everybody at the same time. And the price is pretty just your average hotel price, and I think If that's something you look for, urban hotel will be the go. And the next option will be staying at the Drifter's Lodge. And this is pretty much operated by Andy and Emily at Puerto Rico's. And in the lodge, people have communal kitchens and showers, and it's a lot cheaper too. You'll be able to hunt people with different backgrounds coming from different countries. So this is on the slightly lower side. With the booking, I would say if you really want to book, say, urban hotel and you don't speak Japanese and you need some advice or you need somebody book for you, actually Andy and Emily are very friendly at Puerto Rico. So just send them a message on Facebook and they'll be able to help you to book your accommodation in. So very important, book your accommodation before you go. It can be very limited, especially during the Matsuri days, and I'm sure the whole place will be fully booked out, so make sure you book in advance. All right, that's the 4 things you need to know before you go to Japan and drift for yourself. So I always have a lot of fun whenever I go to Japan and bring everybody to Drift Academy Japan trips. So hopefully you guys booking a trip soon too, and comment below that if you guys already been to Japan, which track have you been to, what drift cars you already have over there, and if you guys haven't subscribed our channel, make sure you do it right now. Just down below, the button's right there, click the bell so you get the notifications. We're doing daily uploads, so that's pretty much the end of this video, and we're gonna see you in the next one.